All right. It's your boy Conserviz 34. Let's get this show on the road. Let's get it popping. Shout out Pharrell. DMV, I see you. Something in the water. June teen weekend. Let's go. Shout out to Black, Ashanti, and Ja Rule. Chloe and Halle. Oh my God, they fine. Denzel Curry. Earth Gang. Lil Baby. My boy from Memphis, Moneybag Yo. Pusha T. Tyler the Creator. And Usher Raymond. We ain't gonna shout out T.I. He needs to stop comedy, but he's on this Something in the Water list. All right, welcome. Welcome to Wednesday night stream. We're ready to go. Something in the Water, June 17th through the 19th. And we're going to talk about why this thing moved in a second. Originally, this festival was in Virginia Beach, the 757. My dad is from the Tidewater area. So I know a little bit about the history of Virginia Beach and why some of the factors that pushed this joint back or pushed it up to the top of the DMV. If you guys don't know what the DMV is, it's DC, Maryland, and Virginia. It's a region of the country that people say is the DMV. Not DMB, but the DMV. Again, DC, Maryland, Virginia. I spent summers down here with my auntie in PG County and Anne Arundel County back in the day. Spent time in Northern Virginia, and again, like I said, I was actually in Virginia Beach a couple weeks ago, so I know this region very well. I have family and loved ones that live all the way from Maryland, south of DC, all the way into the southern parts of Virginia. Like I said, Virginia Beach area. So I know a little bit about this. Let's take a look at the lineup. Here. So one of the things I want to start off with is something that this is why I don't now again, this wasn't everybody, right? And listen, you don't have to like hip hop. But one of the things I don't like about some DMB fans is they act like DMB is the only band in the universe, the only act in the universe. And they're like, oh my gosh, how is DMB so far down the lineup? And first and foremost, this is an alphabetical order. So they have the numbers first. Six Lack is just Black. His R&B singer, but it's like a 6 instead of a B. So it's Black. But it's some people say 6 Lack, but it's really Black. You have Ashanti and Ja Rule, right? Got some other people. Calvin Harris, he may be the only other white dude out here with with Dave, Stefan, and Jeff, right? But it's mostly hip hop. It's mostly R&B, and this was a festival that Pharrell tried to do for his region of the country, and it was really for his hometown of Virginia Beach in 2019. But I don't like some of the comments. Like, oh, DMB should be higher up on the bill. First and foremost, idiots. Okay, read, and you'll notice a trend. It's an alphabetical order. And again, this is why I don't like some DMB fans. Is like DMB is not the center of the universe, and this is alphabetical order. Ashanti and Ja Rule should be before Dave Matthews Band, which is D. And also, when you look at some of these acts like Chloe and Halle, Little Baby, they have larger buzz right now. Now, I don't know if DMB is going to headline or not, But some of these hip hop acts have larger followings right now. Like they're at the peak of they're higher up as far as online. Like, no, yeah, some of them can sell out arenas like DMB size, some of them can't. But they still are acts that have relevance and that will, for a festival, will draw more people than DMB. In some cases, right? It's just not the same crowd, right? And you got to remember, most DMB fans are older. They're over 35, over 40. I know there's some under 35. I'm 31, right? But and there's some kids who are they were raised on Dave. But it's just I think more people should respect. One of the things I said is online. I kind of said DMB fans, be kind always, no matter. Also DMB fans, why is Dave not higher up on the list? Like, it's just very hypocritical. Some people, unless we're human, right? We're all human. Matt says we need a Calvin Harris DMB mashup. Oh, that would be lit. I know there was a Crash into Me matchup by some DJ did that, but yeah, that Calvin. I feel so close to you right now. Like, I don't know what song they would do with that, right? With DMB, but yeah, they need a mashup. But you have acts like Tyler the Creator that just won a Grammy, and that Tyler the Creator has crowds on DMB's level. Now, does he do 40 shows? No. But Tyler the Creator is an icon in hip hop. Usher isn't. Now, I know people aren't arguing about Usher, right? People are more like, who's Little Baby, right? But long story short, these are acts that Pharrell wanted to have. And to go back to why is DMB in the middle of all these hip hop and R&B acts? Well, back in 2019, and I actually was again taking my trip down to Virginia Beach. Pharrell wanted to start the Something in the Water Festival. When I was down there in Virginia, I was listening to the news. It was the talk of the town because I went like a week before. Um, and so the week before Something in the Water, I was in Virginia Beach and I saw them setting up like the sand and the stage again a week in advance. But Pharrell was actually, he got his high school held something for him. This was a big thing because Virginia Beach, they have Live Nation concerts, but they don't have festivals. The Tidewater area is a very interesting area of the country. I know, Greg, here you've lived in various Navy ports in California, and you're in Connecticut now by a Navy point, a Navy area uh, where many submarines are made. But the Tidewater is an area where there's a lot of military families. There is a large summer population, but it's not necessarily like a New York City, or even like Hartford will get more shows, especially in the wintertime. They have the Hampton Coliseum, which is about 45 minutes from Virginia Beach, 45 minutes to an hour, depending on traffic. But that Coliseum's old and kind of rusted out, and the XL Center in Hartford holds more people. So they get some stuff that they have a history with the Grateful Dead and Fish at the Hampton Coliseum. DMB did a New Year's Eve thing. But long story short, the festival that Pharrell decided to put together for Virginia Beach was huge. It was a one of a kind thing. But what did it have? It had a lot of hip hop and R&B acts that were predominantly white. Now, Greg says he shut down one person in the comments in one of the groups and asked why I did. I said what they say is not very DMB fan thing to say, so I get that. Oh yeah, well, Virginia Commonwealth, VCU. Where's VCU? I think Virginia Common. I think where's Virginia Commonwealth? It is. Oh yeah, it's in Richmond. I forgot. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, VCU Arena. Yeah, that's you have that one. You have the Norfolk Scope, which is in Norfolk, Virginia. But this festival was huge. Yeah, the tide it's the Tidewater. Yeah, so it's called the Tidewater region of Virginia. And but Pharrell wanted Dave Matthews Band there because the band has origins in Virginia. He was trying to unite everyone, get them down to the ocean front, and have a festival that had a lot of diverse voices. Now, most of it was R&B and hip hop, but they had a little bit of rock. But what happened was in 2019 there was a bad storm on the Friday of the festival. They kept delaying it, and they just had to cancel it. And Dave Matthews Band had to keep moving on their tour. So they couldn't stay. And obviously, there were other acts that were supposed to play for the next couple of days that were getting paid to have certain slots. So unfortunately, Dave Matthews Band did not play the first Something in the Water Festival in 2019. In 2020, the pandemic hit, and also there was a situation where, and I was back down. Oh, did I go? I didn't go in 2020. I was gonna go in 2020, but then the pandemic hit. So during the pandemic in 2020 and 2021, there were different things that happened in the ocean front as far as shootings. I believe it was Pharrell's cousin. Yeah, Pharrell's cousin was killed by police, right, amid a mass shooting chaos. Okay. Donovan Lynch, who lived in Virginia Beach, was shot and killed by an uh, uniformed police officer a block away from a shooting that injured 8 people. Police said Lynch was armed and may have been part of the original fight. So there was a fight. Now, what happens down here is there is a lot of crime, and yeah, he said he wanted to do Virginia Beach. So yes and no. Virginia Beach does have its crime and issues, but a lot of the crime comes from Norfolk and Portsmouth, Virginia. People from those areas go down to the ocean front because it's a popping area. And so Virginia Beach is a very now that again they do have their issues and but Virginia Beach has a lot of that's where all the like the popping stuff is. People don't go to Norfolk and Portsmouth to go party. They go to Virginia Beach. So, but what happens is Virginia Beach is a lot more of a predominantly white area. Back in the segregation portion of this country, my dad was born into segregation in the early 60s. Black people could not go down to Virginia Beach. I don't think my grandma's ever been to the beach at Virginia Beach. I'm going to try to get her down there next year. But she's only been to beaches in Portsmouth and Norfolk. But the reason I say that is there's been a history of when black people have events down at the ocean front, not only do police kind of crack down a little harder than if it's a predominantly white spring break weekend, but there's been some issues. In this situation, Pharrell's cousin was killed by police. There was mayhem. There was a fight and shots rang off. But in the heat of all that, Pharrell's cousin was killed, and Pharrell felt like he didn't get the answers he needed. He did not get the answers he needed. He was not a suspect per se. They think he was part of the fight, but like they don't think he fired any shots. And the cops did not give a full report on what happened. So long story short, Pharrell in 2020 and 2021, there was also another shooting out there. Pharrell felt like they didn't do enough. It was African Americans or black people that were actually impacted by the shooting. It was a reality star. And this was like right before I was going back down in 21 after I got my vaccination and it went down. But long story short, there's a history of, again, police not doing thorough investigations when black people are killed in Virginia Beach. There's a history of even the HBCU. So you have Hampton University, Virginia State. You have all these black colleges that have the same spring break weekend. And when they try to go down to Virginia Beach, the cops are more aggressive than the predominantly white schools' spring break week. And they've kicked them off. They've had all sorts of issues. So there's a history of that. And again, there's a history of segregation where, again, my grandma, who's in her mid 80s, has never really been at the ocean front. She's been in the city limits of Virginia Beach to get through to go out of town, but she's never been to the ocean front because they weren't allowed to go there in the 60s when my dad was born because it was segregated. It was only white beaches. And it's a town that they don't want a lot of black people there. So anyway, I said that to say Pharrell moved his concert and said, look, I still want to have this at the border of Virginia, and I want to have the DMV, again, DC, Maryland, Virginia. This is going to be a festival for the DMV to show them there's a lot of good that can come when you have all of these hip hop and R&B acts. and some rock and some house or dance or techno, whatever you want to call it. There can be good that can come of this area. So it's been moved to DC. It's Juneteenth weekend, which is the weekend we celebrate the notification of the last slaves that slavery had ended. If you don't know about that, it took years for slaves to be notified that they were free. People were still in slavery after the Emancipation Proclamation for years, and the last of the slaves were alerted in southern Texas. So they're having that Juneteenth weekend, and Dave Matthews Band is going to be on the 19th. How do I know that? Because I'm going to shows for DMB Mansfield on the 17th, and I'm going to Hartford on the 18th. Now, I will say really quickly, I am concerned about the shows I'm going to now because Dave's going to have to sing for 3 straight days. Yeah, they're playing Sunday, Matt. That's the only possible day they can play. It's in pot like they have Friday, Saturday, which is the 17th and 18th. They have shows up here. So that's exactly why they're moving it down to Sunday. And I went to a Saturday night show at SPAC Night 2 in 2018 where they played, I believe it was Quebec the next day. And Dave actually sat down. There was a great show, but there was only a single encore. In years past, Dave had done a double encore, but didn't do it that year. Still did a number 40, which was dope. But he did it seemed like he ended the show a little quicker. They were out of there like really quickly. And the festival stage, they don't have to bring all their gear. Oh, they also play that Wednesday. Oh, they're doing Cisco Live. Okay. Wow. So they're gonna be playing Wednesday and then oh wow. Is that in Vegas? I hope it's a virtual thing. Wow, they're gonna be in Vegas and then fly to Mansfield. Oh, that's gonna be rough. Probably gonna have to take like a red eye. Or actually when it ends, they'll just fly. They don't have to take a red eye. They'll probably leave that afternoon in Vegas. That's not good. And that's a hike, yeah, on an airplane, but still, that's a rough travel. That's a travel day, like Wednesday night or Thursday morning. It's a travel day, and then you got to get over. I They also have that CMAC show on the Sunday after Camden. I just don't like when Dave plays 3 shows in a row outside of the Gorge. I don't like it because he could get exhausted. His voice can go up and down throughout the tour, and a 3 night run is Dave does not know how to have like a slower speed. He doesn't know how to be passively into it because you can put some artists can put on a show and not have as much energy exerted. Dave has to sweat every show, and that's what my concern is. He's gonna sing songs that are gonna get even some of the mainstream hits that go into these Vegas shows or go into the festivals. They take a lot out of his voice, so I'm concerned about that. But yeah, just to recap, Pharrell moved Something in the Water from Virginia Beach to DC. The first Something in the Water in 2019, DMB was rained out and couldn't reschedule because it was just they had other things to do. The festival had a tight schedule for Saturday, Sunday. Here we are in DC with a bunch of hip hop acts. And there's nothing wrong if you don't like hip hop, or if you don't personally like if there's evidence of artists, hip hop or non hip hop, because some of these techno and dance people, they got their own scandals too. If you have any issues with something they've personally done, that's fine. If someone has caught a case or if they've incited violence or if you have evidence on that, there's nothing wrong. But and even if you don't like, you don't like it, but to be like, oh my gosh, man, this hip hop art, like DMB is trying to support a Virginia based festival, which one of the cool things is as well with this before we move on is Virginia residents will have a pre-sale, right? Before anyone else. And I believe it may be DC and Maryland too, but at least Virginia residents will have a pre-sale. And there's a shuttle bus that'll take you to DC from Virginia Beach. So the thing I like about this, you have to remember some of these people that want to go to this festival in Virginia Beach, they can't necessarily just take a car and drive. Some of them have cars, some of them don't. It may be costly, they may be too young. but you can take a shuttle bus to DC one way or both ways, which is really really cool. He's trying to bus people, and it's about $100, but that's not bad because to go through DC, there's a lot of tolls and it's a hike. I'm not gonna lie, I just did the drive from Virginia Beach to Baltimore for a Yankees game, and it's a rough drive no matter what way you to get to DC. Like Richmond area, everywhere between Richmond and DC, there's just traffic nonstop. Um, so I think it's dope what he's doing with that. All right, next up we have the openers, grand opening, grand closing. Now, oops, I didn't mean y'all weren't supposed to see that. So you have some openers for. We're gonna go Alpine first, and I'll have to listen to some of these people because, to be honest, I don't know much. I know Eric Krasno did guest with DMB with Lionel Graves. So we have Nikki Lane and Eric Krasno in the assembly just for July 2nd and July 3rd. So for Alpine, there's one opener only. And listen, it's better than no openers. And if you don't like them, you don't go. Right? Or there wasn't like they weren't advertising openers anyway. Just sit in the tailgate if you don't like them. But I always say if DMB has an opener, give him a chance. I think about the Head and the Heart in 2013. Oh, he's guested a lot of times. Okay. But the Head and the Heart in 2013, I was like, wow. And I know there's been other acts. I just wasn't going before 2012. But I remember the Head and the Heart. I'm like, yo. And Brandy Carlisle. So I went to Hartford for 2 shows. Head and the Heart opened both nights. And then, Brandy Carlisle, the Mansfield night one the following weekend. And it was great to be introduced and hear those two. All right, so Robert Randolph came from one of the older bands. Okay. Okay. Interesting. So he's guessed it. Okay. And there's been so many great acts that have opened. So when we get an opener, take a listen, and you never know what you'll see. And then we're gonna go to the Gorge weekend. So we have obviously the Gorge has 2 acts per night before the band takes the stage. This is their ultimate weekend. SPAC is the Super Bowl because it's the hardest ticket to get, but the Gorge is just the ultimate festival. It's a convention. It's really like the DMB draft. You get 3 nights of amazing things. Oh, Rashawn Ross, not Robert Randall. Okay, Rashawn Ross came from one. Okay, interesting. So let's zoom in here. Oops. So this is an awesome. We'll talk about September 4th, but Friday night you have Valerie June and the War and Treaty. Again, I don't really know much about them. September 3rd, Eric Krasno and the Assembly. Again, they're coming from Alpine, and then Celise. Now, Sunday is somebody that I said should open the Gorge at some point. The Black Puma. Your father turned you onto them? That's pretty awesome, man. The Black Pumas, I saw them during the pandemic year play at Farm Made. And I'd seen some other things about them in 2020. They are an awesome band. And I think this is a great way to end off the Gorge. And also, Saturday is typically the highest attended day of the Gorge. It's the hardest to get pits to. You can get Sunday pits. Oh, excuse me. Oh, sorry. But Sunday is the least traveled. I mean, you could argue Friday and Sunday are the least traveled. Saturday is the biggest one. But to get the Black Pumas on Sunday, that's got to be a great way to say, hey, this is why you go to all 3 nights. Now, most people do, but there are people, especially locals, that only go to Friday, Saturday. There's some people that will leave or they have other plans Labor Day weekend, and they won't go Sunday, right? So this is an awesome act. If you haven't heard of them, they are awesome. One of their major singles was Colors. That was their first big hit. They only have one full studio album, but that's actually a good thing because you'll be able to digest the album. And I think it's a really dope album. They have a soulful rock sound. It kind of I know it's a brother playing guitar, but it gives me some Gary Clark Jr. vibes to an extent. They're still a little bit more smoother. I actually like them more than Gary Clark Jr. Personally, I just think Gary Clark Jr. has a bigger catalog, but the Black Pumas have a little bit more of a fuller, soulful sound that I like. So these are the Gorge weekend. Now, I'm actually happy because I'm going to see the Black Pumas at Sound on Sound. They play the same night as Dave and Tim. And I'm not going to have fear of missing out when I skip the Gorge this year. I was wondering if the Flecktones, now the Flecktones, Bella Fleck, and then Solo, and then the Flecktones and the Wooten Brothers, all this stuff, they have a lot that they're trying to get back money. So, but they're also, they probably just weren't able to get something together for this. But 2020 is going to be a year we think about what would have happened at the Gorge if Bella Fleck and the Flecktones would have taken the stage. I think if the Flecktones made that Gorge weekend in 2020, if there was no pandemic, that would have been the biggest weekend guest. That would probably be the biggest post caravan guest to have them as an opener, and you know they're going to sit in with DMB. I thought that would have been one of the bigger moments because we haven't gotten a lot of Flecktones. We've had Bella Fleck sit in by himself. We've had Victor Wooten in 2013, night 2 on Father's Day sit in. They've had some other stuff here and there, but we haven't gotten a lot of Flecktones, and they're just an awesome, awesome band. By themselves, they're great, let alone being an opener for Gorge Weekend. You kidding me? That's a no-brainer. So it is what it is, but this is good because I don't want to go. But even if you are going, you're going to get a good show. But if I would have lost it, if the Flecktones were announced for this year, I'm like, y'all, I literally can, like, I could physically go to the Gorge, but I have to skip out just because I'm going to so many other shows. Like, I can't. I'm going to Alpine, Deer Creek, Spat. So I just have to be disciplined. So there you have it. That's what you have for essentially that's what you have for the openers. All right, and then the next thing that we're going to talk about, and Greg, you did post something about that. You made a good point because we're going to talk about the southern shows and how a lot of the tickets are available now. We still may not know how the eastern, mid Atlantic, and northeastern shows do because now they're not going to be as bad as the southern shows, but there still may be other instant ticket giveaways. There was one, I think today or yesterday. I think someone said for the second series of tickets, and but we don't know. Like there could be tons of tickets left. We'll have to see once they release the next couple of series to see what shows have a lot of tickets left. Um, but we're going to talk about this. We have tickets in every direction. No words exchanged, no time to exchange them. But let's look in. I'm going to log into the warehouse just to show you guys. But this is it gets worse and worse every year. But let's go to instant ticketing. Let's see. Oh wait, hold on. Let's see. I'm just pulling this up. Oh, GA lawn. Okay. Let's take a look at this. So we're gonna pull this up. Let's take a look at this. Oh, so they have oversized vehicles for Deer Creek. Oh, the campground. So let's just take you through what's going on because a lot of these shows did not sell out. Now, what you also saw, and this was the same thing with CMAC. The same thing with CMAC. You saw a lot of tickets not be available for Huntsville, Alabama. You saw there was limited selection of tickets for Houston and Dallas if you went on the on sale, right? And the Orion Amphitheater is a new venue. But what Groton 27, aka Greg, said this week is, hey, the Southern folks, there's not as many Southern folks are not biting, and the northeastern fans are not traveling as much down to the south as they hoped, and that's absolutely correct. And I'll add a third layer. So we have the Southern market does not have enough DMB fans that are willing to pay the crazy prices, right? And it looks like Houston disappeared, but there were Houston tickets available, I believe. Um, but the hope was, hey, we have more people moving down south. We have a Southern fan base that says they wanted more shows. They didn't do Texas last year, right? But look at this. This is Dallas. This is the Saturday, the first Saturday of the tour. You can get a reserved seat. Now, and here's what's crazy. My tickets for the Northeast were about $135 plus fees. They also priced up the Southern, like Dallas and Houston had higher face values for the best reserve seating. And the lowest reserve seating, remember, we went over we looked at some of these before when the warehouse released the prices. This reserve seating for the back of the venue, 102.84. That's a lot for a market that does not love D&B like that. I know we have great fans out there in Dallas. Some of you guys follow me. Dallas Fort Worth is a large metroplex, but for D&B, it's not Jason Aldean. It's not Hootie and the Blowfish, or it's not Zach Brown Band or Luke Bryan. And you got reserved seats right now. I could buy these and have these shipped to me. Forget cash or trade. I could buy. Now, again, we'll talk about that in a second, but I could buy these. I could buy these right now, warehouse tickets right from the source for face value. Now, if we look at the website, and this is what's crazy too. If we look at Dallas, right? Let's look at Dallas real quick. Right? Let's look at Dallas. I agree, right? You look, there's not a lot of seats together. You can hardly find two seats together that are face value. Now, check this out. These are platinum tickets, $317. But some of these $100 tickets are in the front rows of the upper and the sides of the lower. I don't think any of the tickets are going to be dead center. I think all those tickets are gone. The pit is obviously gone. But for Dallas, you are able to get some primo tickets for, again, 146.14. Now that's still a lot of money. That's a lot of money for a market that's not huge, and that's what it is. So again, the locals are not as gung-ho about paying that price for DMB. They'd rather sit on the lawn or just not go, or sit in the back for a cheaper price closer to the event. You have the migrants, people who have migrated from other parts of the country, the Midwest and the Northeast. Dallas Fort Worth is one of the largest metropolitan areas in the country. I believe there's top 10. Houston and Dallas, the two stops. The Austin is the first one, but the final two, the last two, are two of the largest metros in the country. But even the people who migrate there, they're not saying, oh, I got to go to a DMB show. People who are migrating to South Carolina, to Dallas, to Florida, they're enjoying everything else in Florida. And some of them may not be as gung-ho to go to a concert, especially no violin, especially just the way the band has transitioned out. Now, I love this band still, but it's not the same. And you have a lot of OGs. I was talking to a deadhead in a dead forum, and he stopped going 10 years ago. He had been to so many shows. Mark, great to see you. Let's see what Matt has to say. They should take the PJ approach, blow off a massive part of the country, and charge an exorbitant amount for the shows they're playing. Uh, that would actually yeah, they should talk to Eddie and McCready. That's funny, Matt. That's a good one. Right. They have so many shows down south this year. Thank you, Mark. I hope all is well with you. And Mark, we were talking about this too offline, right? Um, we were talking about listen, if you go on cash or trade, people can't get rid of Atlanta. Atlanta lowers. Atlanta is a market that they used to do, and it was like one of the popping southern it was probably one of the most popping southern stops. West Palm Beach and Atlanta were two of the ones. Now let's look at Lakewood. I think there's only uppers. I believe there's only uppers. Let's check to see what's going on here. Nope, there's lowers too. So there are wow. And shout out to a friend of the show, John Dix, who decided to go to this show. And I guess he has a first time friend who's going with him or whatever. And I was like, why are you going to Atlanta, bro? You going to all the other lit ones. Why are you going to Atlanta? Anyway, I digress. You can still get now. Again, this may not be a lower level seat. It may be at the top. I think you have to be careful because some of the reserve seating is the first couple of rows of the upper. But there still are tickets available for Atlanta. Atlanta. Yeah, people go to Atlanta and Tampa and West Palm Beach. And sometimes Atlanta, what people do is Atlanta has been in the spring and West Palm Beach has been in the summer. Atlanta is like usually the first couple weeks of the tour, and then West Palm Beach. Now they have everything in a row. So they have all these shows from Memorial Day week into weekend running through here, but you would still think people would want to go to Atlanta. It's a Saturday show, but apparently they're not. And if we go back, let's see if we can check out Atlanta. I think you'll see again, there's not a lot of tickets left here. See if I can go back. We can't go back, can't go back. There's been an accident, calm down. Breathe in and out, calm in out. Shout out to Taking Back Sunday. I love them. Um, okay, so let's check out the ATL. Oh, they actually do have, wow. So they actually do have a lot, but the lower, so let's see, are these 135? Yeah, so I'm guessing that a lot of these Atlanta ones, the reserve seating, that 147.02, it's up here. It's around here. It's towards the corner, like some of these seats here. Yeah, because standard adult 135. Wait, that's 140. Oh, 103. Okay. Yeah, so these 147s, that's actually interesting. So look at this. Atlanta has this warehouse seat for 147.02. But look at this in Atlanta. You can get this seat for 135. 135 or one. Oh, these are platinum. But that's a 135. So that's interesting that they have this like mid pavilion seat for 135. And I'm pretty sure if you buy one of these, it's probably going to be mid pavilion. This Atlanta area, this is a very small area, and all these are platinum. So I don't think you're getting something over here. Um, I think the band thinking they could bring such a big crowd to Lakewood on a weekend is possible. Bad guess by DMB. Alpharetta sold out midweek 2 tours in a row. Yeah, that's the thing is Alpharetta is a smaller venue, and it's kind of harder to get to. It's not in downtown Atlanta. It's in the suburbs. Lakewood is in a bad area, but it's in the heart of Atlanta. So they probably thought, hey, we'll move it to a weekend. We've been teasing this midweek and it sold out twice, but nope. People are not paying these prices. And I think the other thing too is one of the things that they shot themselves in the foot with. I would have thought it would have been a great one. I was wrong too. They have West Palm Beach in Labor Day weekend, and then but before Labor Day weekend, they have this Atlanta. So if I'm going to Southern shows, why am I going to go to Atlanta when I can go to the Little Weekend at West Palm Beach for 2 nights? I think that's what a lot of people are not traveling to this weekend. And there's examples all across here. We look at Huntsville. And again, on cash or trade, people cannot sell lowers for face value, as Mark said. And I saw some things on there for lowers, and people literally cannot sell the ticket. right? Yep. So reserve seating 147.15 for Huntsville. Now this is a Wednesday show, and again, I don't get why they charge so much for these southern venues. They really price gouged and shot them in the foot because again, I know it's only about $10, right? 135 to 147 is approximately just over $10, but it really shot them in the foot. The other thing is, like you said, Lakewood is a bad venue. Yeah, it's in a bad area, so people are not going to go there. That's why the Braves, which is I don't think we've talked about this, Mark, but the Braves, that is the worst, one of the worst things that happened to the city of Cobb County is that stadium. I went to Turner Field in '05, and I know it's not a nice area, but they moved that stadium out, and now the taxpayers literally are paying for that. Now they won its World Series. Hey, they could have won that at Turner Field. I think it's horrible. It's a shame what happened. Cobb County spending millions of dollars on a pedestrian bridge and the battery and Truist Park was supposed to make some certain money back. Oh, we promise it'll bring all this money in. It has not done that. The taxes have gone up in Cobb County, and it's a shame what happened there. But anyway, I digress. So yeah, people want to go to a nice area, and now that you have, unless the only thing they'll go to is down the CNN for like a John Mayer type concert or Jason Aldean. Now Jason Aldean doesn't do, maybe in the winter, but like they do the amphitheaters, but they'll go see a classic rock act at the whatever that venue's called now. It used to be Phillips. It's something else now. Is it State Farm Arena now? I think it's State Farm or Allstate Arena, one of those insurance companies. But they shot themselves in the foot. But here's the thing. I could go on and on about this. But let's focus this in. The main thing about this is the fact that DMB has all of these crazy weekends. A lot of people who wanted to go down south have gone down south. The only people that are considering West Palm Beach are people that really just want to go to the beach. But the DMB faithful like me, I have never been to West Palm Beach for a DMB show, right? I've been to South Florida, I've been to Atlanta, right? I've been to North Carolina, but I don't want to go see DMB there. Matter of fact, I don't even want to see DMB in Austin. By the way, let's pull up the Austin show. Austin did not sell out, and a lot of it's the uppers, right? You have a lot of people that want good seats for opening night, but I have no interest going. One of these years, I'll go to opening night, perhaps if they keep playing. But why do I want to go to Austin? Whatever they bust out in Austin, it'll most likely be done when I get to Hartford or Mansfield. And the Deer Creeks and the Alpines and the Specs. That's where you have everybody's looking for the SPAC pits, right? It's everyone is looking for Alpine and SPAC and Deer Creek. Not even the Gorge, like the Gorge Saturday, sure. But there's like people aren't worried because the Gorge there's always tickets. So you've done West Palm Beach. It was a wicked great time, always great sets. Yeah, the thing is though, you're like anything they're gonna do in West Palm Beach, typically they're gonna do in Deer Creek or Alpine. What's the point of going now? I thought it was great they moved this to Labor Day weekend, right? No, Memorial Day weekend. Memorial Day weekend. It's a little bit cooler. Although Florida is just hot in general. Once you get to May and June, it's just hot in general. But to move it to late May, I think is awesome. Versus it's always bad in August, July and August. But there's like one day maybe I'll get out to West Palm Beach. But when I'm trying to prioritize my next stops, I've been to Gorge, I've been to SPAC, but I want to go back to SPAC. I got night 2 tickets confirmed, so I'm going back to SPAC. But I want to go to Alpine. I want to go to Deer Creek. I'm sorry, I don't care about West Palm Beach this year. I don't care about Atlanta. I don't care about Huntsville. Oh, really cool venue. It really looks cool. And I'm a stadium junkie and an amphitheater junkie. I can walk around and just enjoy the architecture, but I'm not going to Huntsville, Alabama. I want to go to Deer Creek. I want to go to Alpine. I want to go to SPAC. And that's what most people from the Northeast, from the Midwest to the down South, they're trying to check those boxes off. They're not trying to go to Atlanta. They're not going to Charlotte. Last year, Charlotte and Raleigh were big because That's when it was the first emotional shows after this long, long break. Now those shows are irrelevant. Virginia Beach is a great place to see a show, but it's not. It's one night. So this is the issue. Daly's Place did not sell out night two. There's two nights, right? They did not sell out night two. Night one is sold out, right? Allegedly. They have only verified resale. This is a very intimate venue, but it's all verified resale. They sold out. But night two, you can still buy tickets to. And that's a small venue. West Palm Beach is the best non-special venue on tour. Lots of years. Their sets beats Deer Creek. Well, I would say '07, right? '07 had a great, yeah. So they do have great, but it's still, to me, it's like, okay, it's still Florida, it's still hot. Like, I want to go to the venues. But you're right though, because the Florida '07 shows, wow. And even last year, they had some special things last year. But there's nothing pulling me to go there. Like, I'm not going to Bristol, Virginia. I'm sorry. I don't care if it's a Saturday. Now, one day I do want to go to Blossom, but that's not high on my priority list. Right? But let's see Huntsville, Brandon Amphitheater. I don't see the Orion. Maybe they have their own ticketing. I don't see Orion. That's Brandon, Mississippi. I don't see Huntsville. Oh, wow. Yeah, I don't see Huntsville, Alabama. But I know there's tickets that are still available, right? Right. So Deer Creek has a history of nasty. Yeah. Well, the Midwest is just, it's flat. So when they have those severe storms, they don't get the tornadoes like Missouri, but they still get tornadoes in Indiana because it's so flat. They don't have those Appalachian Mountains or the Rocky Mountains to kill their storms. Them storms build up. Chicago, Illinois, Oklahoma, Arkansas. Oh, Arkansas does have some mountains, the Ozarks, but Missouri, not Missouri, Missouri, right? All those states in the even North and South Dakota can get tornadoes. They get snow in the winter. They get tornadoes in the summer sometimes, spring and summer. But yeah, you can still buy a ticket to Orion at the highest price point. So that's where you have it. But again, the deception. I've talked to some of you guys, Greg and Mark. We've talked about this. The deception of the fear of missing out, and all of a sudden, now let me know if you guys have ever seen this. I have never seen warehouse instant. Now maybe they're trying to make nice. Maybe they're like, everyone was upset, so we worked out a deal where we can release these later. Maybe they tried to have the brokers buy up all these tickets, and the brokers are now really, that's the thing, is the one silver lining is the brokers who bought these tickets with bots to the Brandon Amphitheater or to Dallas or Houston, they're going to have to sell these tickets at a loss. That's the one silver lining. Now, I feel bad for people who are trying to get rid of tickets and that are trying to sell them for face. That's the one thing about this. The fact that you have now these aren't all tickets, right? Right. So that's parking for Jones Beach. But let's see, PNC Bank Art. Let's see what they have for this. This is series 2. Oh, just the lawn. Okay. Okay. So just the lawn. But still, I mean, it's nice to see that there are some things coming up. Let's see, Xfinity Center. What do they have? Is it just lawn? Yeah, just lawn. Now, they could also, to be fair, the Xfinity Center could sell open air seats, but they're just selling the lawn. So it is what it is. They're leaving some of those to be. Excuse me. So, it's an interesting time, but again, it's shocking to see all of these pop up so quickly. and still be available. These some of these like the Series A tickets have been up for weeks. Some of these Series B just popped up in the last 2 days, and some of these are just lawn tickets anyway. You say they took over a week this month, like 9 days for warehouse to even sell the Huntsville pits they released. Interesting. Wow, so they had pits for that long. But again, Huntsville's in the middle of nowhere for DMB country. Now you want to have a you want to have a country fest in Huntsville. People will drive from all points around. Even a classic rock act will have some sort of showing better than DMB. As long as you're not Neil Young, right? You will have a good showing at an Orion amphitheater. So Greg makes a good point. The cost of flights have gone up. I'm looking at my flights for Deer Creek and Alpine, and yeah, they have gone up. And the rental cars they were high last year, right? So yeah, the last minute people, right? The cost of everything is going up. So that affects a lot of people if they can't get a ride from somebody or they can't go somewhere. Um, like if they can't get a ride or they don't have the hotels have gone up. The air and I haven't done Airbnb yet. I may try it at some point, but I just do the hotel thing. I have been just a little apprehensive. I've heard great stories of it and a great pricing, but yeah, the hotels have gone up, and I'm just listen. It's just me in this crib right now. When I go to show, I don't have a family right now. Coming soon, Controvis 34 family coming soon, right? But seriously, like it's just me, so I don't have to worry about like all these other costs of bringing everyone. Some people like to bring their families, or people bring their kids, right? Their kids are 10, 12, 15, 16, 18, and they want to help them. Oh, so Mike from Canada, Alberta, Canada, it's too expensive to travel to shows. Wanted to do Alpine, the cost was the same. Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy, and I think that's a good point, though. That's a good point, Greg. The cost of flights has gone up, and yeah, I mean that type of stuff. That's where because a lot of DMB fans make this stuff last minute. Oh, you're staying in a verbal. Yeah, I've heard of verbal too for the shows. Oh, in the live free or die state. We won't say where that is. An undisclosed tour stop that you shouldn't take for granted. Wow, Calgary to Chicago was $1,000 for a flight. Now, Mike, what is it typically? What is it? What's like a flight out there to the central? Like if you were to go to Minneapolis or Chicago or Milwaukee, what would it cost before the pandemic? I'd be interested to see what it would cost you before that. In Canada, our folks in Canada, like Mike, they've had to pay a lot last year because they had to fly over. They couldn't drive across the border by car. They had to fly and get tested. Oh yeah, the Gorge will get okay. Wow, so 300 to 500, and wow, yeah. And my flight to get to Deer Creek and Alpine, that flight is like almost the same as flying to Seattle was like last year. Flying to Seattle last year, it's not too far up. And just to let you know, from the Northeast Connecticut to fly to Chicago or Milwaukee or Indianapolis, that's a 2 hour flight. That's really a 2 hour flight, 2.5 hours. Where the Gorge is, it's like 5 hours if it's a direct flight. If I most times I have layovers, but that it's a lot. It like I can do that because again, I'm a single person household, right? I don't have a family to take care of, so I can save and budget for these trips. And then, hey, whoever comes, comes. I don't invite other people with me. I just, if you're going that week, I see on social media, hey, let's meet up. Hey, I'll see you in the venue, right? That's what I've done with some of you guys. I met Mike. I haven't met Mark. I met Greg, Mike. Mark, we'll have to meet up if we ever get to a show. Um, the Canadians can at least drive though. They can drive back to the gorge, but the hotels, I wonder what the camping is. The thing is, yeah, most people camp anyway, so the camping is not bad. So most of the gorge. Now, for me personally, I get the hotel. That's just how I do it. I need a shower. I camp and I go to concerts. I don't mix them. And listen, I had a blast in the campgrounds with my boy Nikki G. Shout out to Nikki G. He let me stay at his little RV setup for different parts of the Gorge weekend, and it was a ball. But listen, I just personally, this is just me, I can camp for a couple of days in the wilderness and then come back. I can't camp and then I need a physical shower. I need a physical bed because I also like the thing is too. And listen, I'm rambling on, but I go for hikes on show days. I go for runs on show days. I'm not trying to be in a public shower. Like I'm sorry, I just can't because I'm showering two times a day minimum. Because I don't just drive to the venue. Right. One of the usually night threes I have because I have a long drive after. But night one and night two, I'm doing activities with bunk beds like Step Brothers, right? Like I'm going for hikes. Gorge night one, I did. Oh, Wild Horse has physical showers, but still, is it to yourself? See, that's the thing is like I just like the comfort of knowing that I have my own shower. Oh, I know the Gorge campgrounds have showers, but it's like a public shower, right? It's a public because I've seen people go into those. I just can't listen. You can call me soft or whatever. Like again, I camp. I physically camp. I can camp and I can go to shows, but I need that. I need that central air. I need to shower before I feel comfortable going to a show with. And again, some of you guys get it done, and that's fine. And again, the awesome thing about the Gorge, it makes the trip affordable. The camping at Alpine and at Deer Creek, it makes it affordable to get camping there. And it's there's so many great people. I latched on to people. Oh, they are public, yeah. It's just for me, and there are lines, yeah. For me, like I said, I don't stop. Yet this year, the second day of my vacation was the first day on vacation in the last 3 or 4 years where I did not drive anywhere. When I went to Virginia Beach, there was one day I did not drive anywhere. I did not drive a half a mile, a quarter mile. My car was parked. The last 3 or 4 years, every day of vacation, I have driven somewhere over the rainbow, right? Like I land in Seattle. I drive right to Oregon the first day. The next day I go to a Yankees game or I go to Discovery Park. And then I go drive across like the second day of my Gorge trip in 2019. The first day I drove 2 hours, 2.5 hours to Oregon. The second day I drove to a Yankees game all the way up in Seattle. The third day, I drove across the state of Seattle. So anyway, I know I'm rambling on just talking about myself. Yeah, look at me, I'm cool. Conserviz 34 has lit vacation. But like I literally don't stop on vacation. I need to actually do better at that. I need to have a better job of just not driving anywhere and relaxing, at least for a couple of days of vacation, because I'm just known. Like when I went to Virginia Beach in 2019, I drove to Virginia Beach one day. The next day, I'm driving 2 hours to the Outer Banks for the day, and then driving back at night. Like I love exploring and driving and hiking and stopping and looking at scenic overviews. Greg's gonna cancel Gorge. I'm sorry to hear that, Greg, because the cost of the flight for 250, but the return is yeah. That's what it's that Labor Day flight. It's always the way back. That's a lot of wow. 475 just to return. Wow. That's what yeah, that's the tough thing. And even with Alpine being 4th of July week, the Labor Day weekend, the rental car and the flight, it's always that flight back. Unless you're gonna stay, the only thing that works is if you're gonna fly back, but it's hard because people have to go back to work. Yeah, Mike, how long is it from your portion of Alberta to the Gorge? How long does it take you? Yeah, I'm glad you could drive. I almost thought about driving from Connecticut to Deer Creek and then Deer Creek to Alpine. and just staying around. But I'm not doing. I'm flying. I'm gonna be exhausted. Oh, 8.5 hours. That's not bad. That's like so, Mike. That's like where I live. That's like where it is to get to Virginia Beach. So I'm like 8 hours. I'm about 7 or 8 hours from what you consider the South. Oh no. Well, if I go through DC, it's like 6 hours, 6, 7 hours. But yeah, where I am in the Northeast, I'm stacked up there just below Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. So yeah, so 8.5 hours. Yeah, that's like what it takes for me to get to Virginia Beach, the beginning of the South. So if I want warmer weather in the late spring, in the late winter, early spring, it's like 30 degrees, it's 30, 20 degrees. That's what it. Oh, let me plug this in. My Wi it's running. I'm running on Wi-Fi. I need to get a new Ethernet cable. But yeah, so we'll see what happens. I think this is interesting. I think this is great because overall, I told you guys to wait it out. And yes, obviously SPAC is gonna be SPAC. Alpine, Deer Creek. But SPAC is really but even so, if you want to get into Alpine, oh, you get to drive through the Rockies. Yeah, right. The Northern Rockies, right? Because you're in the mountain time zone. So the Rockies stretch up to Canada. Right. That's right. I forgot about that. Yep. The Rockies are right there in Alberta. So that's awesome. I gotta get out to that part of that's the one thing I haven't done in the Pacific Northwest is get out to because I want to go up to British Columbia because like I've heard great things about Vancouver Island. You have Victoria is on Vancouver Island, right? Yeah. So you can go out to Vancouver Island. You go up to towards Whistler, right? You go towards Kelowna. I used to play Command and Conquer Red Alert 2, and there was one of my online friends. She was from Kelowna, British Columbia. But you have the awesome what's that river? It is it's no, there's like a lake. There's like a lake up there. Kelowna is right across. Okay, so you go from Calgary. Okay, right, those Northern Rockies. But one of these, let's see. Wonder if ticket sales lag this year. Does that mean less chance of a fall tour or more chance? Um, that's a good question. It really depends on what happens with this alleged album announcement. Because the thing is, if they do, like I just went to fish at Madison Square Garden. If they do Madison Square Garden for 2 nights, they do a Philly show. Like the thing with the fall tour, maybe they cut the cable, right? Maybe they pull the plug, but the Northeast, the fall tours have always been in the last, like since I've been going in 2012. Some of the tours went to Chicago, but few of them did. So the last couple of tours, fall tours, they have not gone much to the Midwest. They did Grand Rapids and Columbus, but then they went to the East Coast. So that is a good question. I think the biggest concern with the fall tour is how many people are going to go to Charlottesville with flights being up, with rental cars being up. At the end of this year, people are going to so many events, there's so many concerts. I don't think a lot of people have the money and desire to go to Charlottesville, especially if, let's just say, this album does not hit. Let's just say this album is not as good as Every Day. Now, Every Day obviously was hated when it first came out, but really it depends on how good this album is. If this album is as good as Come Tomorrow, why go to Charlottesville if you've already been, right? Charlottesville had issues its last winter tour. There were $2, $3 tickets at the top of the venue. And even at the lower parts of the venue, there were $60, $70 tickets. Seaville is easy to get to. Oh, so you can take Amtrak, but most people aren't taking Amtrak. They're gonna want to fly in, like. But I think some people who really want to go, that is a good. All the rich. See, I don't think so. I don't think so. because there are fans that go to Mexico, but they want to go to SPAC. All the people I know that went to Mexico, like I don't think they would go to Seville unless this album is fire, unless there's some sort of opener. Like if the Flecktones, that's the thing is if they get like the Flecktones to come to Charlottesville, now that'll get people to go. But even the rich fans, they don't want to. That's why this like if I was a rich man, da, 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 the rich fans are not going to they're not going to like even like the rich fans will go to Madison Square Garden over Seville. And again, Charlottesville is a place that I want to get to, but the last couple of tours, it has been a now when they had it in 2016, it was still like obviously it was at the beginning of the tour. So that got a lot more buzz. But the last winter tour at Seville, they were $2 and $3 tickets. Now, yes, these were uppers, but what I'm saying is some of the rich folks will go to the pit. They will buy a lower level seat. But not many people are going to go to Charlottesville unless this album is fire, unless there's something pulling them there. And I think that's what we're seeing even with the Southern. The diehard fans have fatigue. The newer fans like me that started 10 years ago, Mark, I believe, when did you start going to DMB shows, Mark? I feel like you've been going for the last 10 years or so, right? Someone got you into going to DMB shows and taping, you know. But people like me, I don't like, I'm not going to, like, I wanted to go to MSG. I do want to go to Charlottesville, but not this year. There's too much going on. There's too many concerts. And then the college basketball season, college hockey. That's where the fall tour historically does not sell well. And then, but except Madison Square Garden sells well. Like they do sell well in certain pockets, right? Mohegan sold well. Um, so they're going to pick those venues, but still, like a Charlottesville, you're not going to get in the upper. You have, again, to fill the up. That's the problem now. Everyone who's going to these shows, the people who have the money, they want pit or nothing. They want lowers or nothing. I think the challenge is this has been an issue with the lawn. It's spilled off to the upper deck. Dave Matthews Band is going to have trouble outside of SPAC finding upper deck seats, upper level in the pavilion seats being so. People do not want to pay $120, $130. Oh, and even Greg, oh, this is interesting. So you got your ticket in the lot. And so 2016, well, that was that spring. That was a big year, that 25th anniversary. Right. And some of that, again, Charlottesville is kind of like the Gorge. There's nothing out there. Now the Gorge is more desolate, right? Charlottesville, you can there's some Appalachia towns out there, right? Roanoke, Lynchburg. Now they're still a little bit ways away from each other, but like the Gorge is just out in the middle of nowhere. Um, but still, like to get people to go out to Seville, like MSG always is going to have people, and that's what they'll do. But yeah, that's a good question, Greg. As far as you think they're going to have a fall tour, will the sales of this summer tour impact the fall tour? I don't think so. I think if anything, it'll make them more picky. Like you're probably not getting a southern show outside of an Atlanta or Charlotte, if that, for this. Oh, Seville's 90 minutes from DC. Oh, that's a good point. Right. You take 64, I think, right? Is it 64? Because I was just out that way. When I was taking 64 up to DC, it did say Charlottesville, like X amount of miles. Washington. Wait, not 64. Charlottesville. Oh, yeah, you could take 64 to 95, right? Yeah, it looks like I'm looking on a map here. Okay. So, oh, it looks like it has you take 29, US 29, because it's more of a direct. But you could also take, yeah, looks like that's what it is. Yeah, 2 hours and 12 minutes from Washington to Charlottesville, 116 miles. And a lot of that's the fact that there's not like a direct interstate. There's a US 29. and US 15 that gets you up. I think that's the best way to avoid traffic. And then you get on the 66. Okay. Yeah, so it's 2 hours. Okay, so that's actually not bad. Granted, there's not a lot of fans in DC per se. I guess you could fly in and drive it, but there's a lot more fans in Maryland. I feel there's more fans in Maryland and then Southern Jersey and Pennsylvania, Southern Pennsylvania, and then you have some Virginia fans. But so yeah, it's interesting. That's all I have for now. But there's nothing with this new album. Nothing with the new album that's come out. It is what it is. I honestly, again, I will say this. I can wait. I'm not mad if DMB never releases an album again. And also, I'd rather them get it right than release it too early. If they need another year, if they want a road test, I don't care. I really don't care. If you, some people are, and I get this in some case, like some people want this next studio album. Listen, I'm getting into so many other bands. I don't need another DMB studio album. I'm diving into bands of past, like going into the Avid Brothers, however you pronounce it. I'm diving back into their catalog. They're going to be out here in Connecticut. I'm diving into Goose. I'm diving into Fish. Listening to just other music, hip hop and R&B that I haven't listened to in a while because the last year has been heavily on Fish. But now I'm still listening to a lot of Fish. So there's tons of music to keep me entertained. I don't need a DMB album announced tomorrow. Okay, if they announce it, okay, we'll see what happens. We'll see the singles. We'll listen to it. I'm like, even if it's not a good album, I don't have any expectations per se. I think what they've played live is great, but what they played live last year may not make it into the album. It may make it, it may not. We've seen years where Bismarck gets cut, right? Death on the High Seas gets cut. Those weren't on come tomorrow. So we'll see what happens. I'm not, again, I don't, I understand why people are anxious, but what I would say is you should want them to get it right, not want them to get it out. And you just have to trust that if it's delayed, there's a reason. And again, this band is just not the band is not where it used to be, where they used to have all these studio sessions. Everyone like would go to Virginia, or go to upstate New York, or go to somewhere else in New York City, right, and record an album. Sit down. They didn't have families as big as they do now. Some of them weren't even married at certain parts of this band's best years, but they got wives and kids and loved ones and mothers. Like Jeff takes care of his. Shout out to Jeff Coffin. His mother is a widow, so he's got to take care of his mother and check in on her. Rashawn's got family out in the islands he wants to go see. So it's harder to make an album, right? And this is where Steve Lillywhite plays a part. My biggest concern is I don't think that anyone can bring DMB out of their comfort zone like Steve Lillywhite. And yes, they made Away from the World, but to me, Away from the World was a great studio album. Some of the songs didn't translate well, but that's not Steve's fault. That's the band's fault, right? They didn't road test. Like, If Only doesn't translate well. They did redo Sweet. They did redo. Now, right away, they kind of redid, what is it? Rooftop. But Steve Lillywhite gets the best out of this band. Steve Lillywhite is that coach that people say, oh, well, he's mean, or, oh, you can't say that anymore. But you know what? Steve Lillywhite does anything he does. It's not because he wants to be mean to people. It's because he loves this band and wants to see them get to their potential. Those are the best coaches I've had. The coaches and the bosses that want to see me get to my potential and push me. And again, I will say this nonstop. Steve Lillywhite, no distorted guitar, Tim. Clean electric sound. That's it. There's no distortion in my studio. right? Even Crush had a nice clean sound. There is nobody like Lillywhite for this band. I hope they can make something great, but without Steve Lillywhite, I don't think they can get to a certain level. I think they can still make a great album that captures where Dave is, where the band is in their life. We can have Virginia's in the Rains, right? We can have Black and Bluebirds because they didn't have Lillywhite for those, but those are still good songs. But Lillywhite would have never had Come Tomorrow. Lillywhite would have been like, get this flipping song out of here. You're rewriting this now. We're going to re-record this. We're going to rewrite this song to be better. Come Tomorrow is one of the worst written songs in the current era of this band. Obviously, there's been Plastic Girl and some other stuff. But Come Tomorrow is a horribly written title track, which has a great message, but has horrible lyrics. So, yeah, and Greg said this. They've been doing things separately, and it doesn't work. They have and listen, I'm glad for their success. They can fly in on the PJ. They can fly in on a first class flight anywhere in the country like that. Money is not an issue on that end. They can all meet up somewhere. That's what they do, right? They have a show in Vegas, and then guess what? They're going to have a nice flight, a chartered flight from Vegas to Mansfield, right? They're not going to be on an American Airlines flight. It's going to be a chartered flight, right? So, yeah. So, oh yeah, BC. Yeah. So, the Madman's Eyes sounds great. So that is something that's great, and that hasn't been pulled out since the Lillywhite sessions. And I think he'll do a great job of mixing that. BC will do a great job of mixing that as he did or Come Tomorrow with certain songs. But nobody, Lillywhite is the GOAT, man, with D&B. And even with Peter Gabriel. I had a post about Sledgehammer, Peter Gabriel, the live version, but um, I think Lillywhite he's somebody that brought the best, and they may have not liked them, but the thing with Dave, and sometimes, listen, I'm giving relationship advice. Sometimes the partner that you have, male or female, non-binary, however you splice, however you live your life, right? Sometimes your partner needs to be told it like it is. If you're dating someone, if you're talking to someone, you don't have to be abusive and manipulative and controlling, but sometimes they need to hear from somebody, you're crazy, don't do that. And that's how you can actually get somebody to really, you can be the one that's different than everyone else. That's how now, if you're in the friend zone, you're stuck. But sometimes there are people, they may seem powerful. They may seem, oh, they have all these accolades. Oh, so and so makes so much more money than me, right? I can't believe I'm dating them. They have such a better career. But all they're looking for is somebody to love them, but to also call them out on their crap. And that's exactly what Leroy Moore did. That's exactly what Steve Lillywhite did. And I feel like there's a void there. Buddy can't do that. Jeff can't tell Dave what to do. Rashawn has a little bit of pull with Dave, and Dave trusts Rashawn, but some of the stuff Rashawn does is good, right? And he does actually bring up some things, but some of the stuff, bruh, some of that squealing, that like he's Cardi B, okay. Some of that high pitched stuff, yo, Like Leroy would be like, that's not flying. Lily would be like, get this flipping trumpet out the studio, Rashawn, right? Maybe he doesn't do that, but there's a greatness in Lillywhite that to me is needed from this band. That in order to push them to their best, if they want to have one last hurrah. Now, listen, I don't know what happened with the relationship. I don't want to try to speculate, but they're not talking. They're not hanging out right now, as far as I know. But again, and that happens in music. People have strong personalities. Actors, directors, boy bands, rock bands break up all the time because you have strong personalities. What makes things great sometimes can lead to a pause in a relationship or an ending of a relationship. But shout out to Steve Lillywhite. Do want to give him his flowers because he is amazing, not just for D&B, but for all music is better. Dude went on a run in the 80s was killing it in the 90s, even in the 2000s. Had did his thing. He is a legend as far as a producer in the game. So that's all I got for right now. Let me get to bed. Tune in Saturday, 10 p.m. Eastern. We'll have some other topics. I'll kind of see what's going on in the DMB world, and we'll talk about those things. It's your boy Conserviz 34, and be well, be safe, look out for one another. Don't freak out about all the little things people are fighting about on the internet. Love one another, be kind, take a stand against injustice if you see it in real life. Um, I don't know. Those, um, right. So let's get that outro music here. All right. I'm out. Peace.